All right, we are looking at, this is CC2, so CPM course 2, and this is section 2.3.2, number 2-129. And there we go. I'm looking at 3 statements, and we need to kind of answer these statements and reason these statements about numbers and give some examples and explain our reasoning. So the first statement, we'll do this one here so I can write it and show it, but we'll read it from the text. If multiplying by 1/4 makes a positive number smaller, then what does dividing by 1/4 do to the value of the number? Explain your reasoning. Well, let's experiment. So if I take 1/4 and I multiply it by 8, so I'm going to take 1/4 and multiply it 2 times a positive number. It makes the number smaller. Do we agree? Well, let's double check, right? So 1/4 times 8, you put the 8 over 1, and then you multiply straight across, you get 8 over 4, which then becomes 2. So I started with the number 8, I multiplied by 1/4, and my answer became 2, which, yep, that is smaller. What if I took that same number now and I divided it by 1/4, right? So I multiplied it by 1/4, now I'm going to divide it by 1/4. What does that mean? Well, watch what happens. When you divide by 1/4 a fraction, remember dividing by fractions, the first number stays the same, and you do not divide by fractions, you multiply by the reciprocal. Dividing by a fraction is creating a larger number in this case, because we end up here with now 32. So 8 divided by 1/4 is really 8 times 4 over 1. And that gives us 32. So multiplying by a fraction, in this case by 1/4, makes the number smaller. Dividing by a fraction will then make the number bigger. Okay, so there's our example. So we'll say, because the question says, what does dividing by the 1/4 do? So dividing by 1/4 makes the number larger. And here's our example. Okay, so then let's look at B. So B, it says, if multiplying by 1 does not change the value of the number, then what effect does multiplying by 2 over 2 have? Explain your reasoning. Okay, so again, so with B, if I take any number, let's say 8, and I multiply it by 1, the number is still 8, right? If I take a number and I'm going to say it's 5 and I multiply by 1, it's still going to be 5. Is that true for 2 over 2? Well, 8 times 2 over 2, remember, if you're going to multiply a fraction times a whole number, you put the whole number over 1, you multiply straight across. So 8 times 8 times 2 is 16. 2 times 1 times 2 is 2. And then 16 over 2 divides out to be 8. So it didn't change the number. Will that be the same thing for 5? Let's check it. So 5 times 2 over 2. Again, we put that 5 over 1. We multiply straight across. I get 10 over 2, which 10 over 2 divides to be 5. Sure enough, it's the same. Why is that? So the reason why this is true is because it's what? Because 2 over 2 is 1, right? 2 divided by 2 is the same thing as 1. So the question's asking, does it have the same effect by multiplying by 2 over 2? And we'd say yes. Because, so there's our examples are up here, but we can continue on by saying because 2 over 2 is equal to 1. So it has the same effect. We're showing our examples and our reasoning because 2 over 2 equals 1. They're the same thing. All right. So C, last one. C says, if you find 80% of a number, do you expect the answer to be greater or less than the number? What if you find 120%? Explain your reasoning. So 80% of a number, 80% of, let's say, a number being 80% of 100. Well, 80% of 100, remember 80% of 100, we would say, if I'm going to do the math here, 80% is written as a fraction, 80 over 100. And then if I multiply. So multiplying 80 over 100 times 100 over 1, you end up with the hundreds. You can cross simplify, and you end up with 80 as an answer. So 80% of 100 is 80. So the number does get smaller. If you're taking a percentage that's less than 100, your number will get smaller. So 120% of 100, what's going to happen? So 120% of 100, here we go, 120, you put it over 100 when you, any percent written as a fraction is over 100 of, so multiply by 100. Okay, and again, cross simplify, those hundreds go away. We just multiply straight across and we get 120. So notice it was 100, 120% of 100 is 120. It gets bigger. So if you're going to multiply by a percentage that's larger than 100, the number grows. Okay, so there we go.